Okay, let me know. Hello, world. Tara Sumur from Stockbroker to Firewalker, coming back on, I think this is actually day 13, but I'd have to check because I missed yesterday. It's definitely the 24th of February. Welcome to today's broadcast of Find It, Feel It, Free It. So again, my own personal movement and contribution to what I see as a global need for freedom. And today I'm coming in after learning overnight that we've moved into a, I'm going to say, level of aggression with countries that have agreed to not behave this way for a very long time. I'm referring to Russia and the Ukraine. So continuing to be in a world where I firmly believe there is a tremendous cry and need for freedom, and it's coming from all places and all levels. And boy, I bet if I could drop myself into the bodies of people making the decisions leading these countries also, I doubt they're feeling anything close to free as they're taking those actions. So my way of contributing, because I certainly don't want to decide or impose my version of freedom on the world, as wonderful as I think that might be, my way of contributing is to, within myself, explore what freedom means for me whenever I am able to feel what freedom feels like in my body coherently. So in my mental body, my emotional feeling body, and my heart emotional body, and also my physical feeling body. Notice I use feelings both times. We'll get into that another day. And then as I'm feeling freedom, radiate that out on the automatic transmission system of the heart. For anyone who's never done that, simply ask your heart to radiate. It's actually doing it all the time. So all you're doing is increasing the intensity and the focus. And there actually is a tremendous amount of science behind, if all of us were able to actually do this, that we really are actually at every minute living in a Petri dish that is a collective, energetic, of all of our emotional states within all of our bodies combined. So for today, the last piece I'm going to share before I just start to radiate, because I'm actually feeling free, and I actually have someone behind the camera today, and there is no one on this planet that I like having behind the camera more, because I have my daughter holding the camera today, and so I feel free just because she's here. But last night I had something happen, and I've worked with crystals for a long time, really with the mind of a child and curious. I am at my core a very logical, very geeky little scientist. I love data. I love numbers. I love being alive during a time when we are recording so many things. I love being alive at a time when computers are crunching all of these fascinating series of numbers in ways that never could happen before, and simply revealing all these patterns that were, what can now happen in a very short period of time was the lifetime work of multiple people. So, the amount that we can learn and the amount that we can see in the time we're living in, especially if we're open and curious and not shutting it down based on prior beliefs, is incredible. And that includes all of my explorations with crystals, which in very, very recent days, as some of you may have noticed, I've suddenly started being a lot more public about some of the things that I do and believe that are a little less mainstream, so to speak. So everything I'm talking about with Find It, Feel It, Free It, the radiating emotion or the feeling or the collective coherent feeling of what's going on inside you, out on your heart, I actually call that pretty mainstream. So you may not have been taught it in university, but it is very available and has been now for, I believe, 3 decades, 30 years this year, I think, if I'm correct. 30 years this year, the internet ran around the world. We need to look that up, and I think it's about 30 years since HeartMath released their discovery of the sensory neurite, the brain cells in the heart. So that's 30 years of 2 different massive changes in what we know about ways to communicate and ways to learn and ways to connect. So that's over half my lifetime. So I consider that mainstream now. But Last night, something happened that I don't consider mainstream, although the ancients might have. And it's happened a few times in my life, and it's always been very powerful and profound and very, very weird. And I got woken up by essentially a class of crystals. I got woken up by the Trigonics last night, or the Trigon crystals. And I know that sounds weird, but literally in the middle of the night, out of the blue, for no reason, I woke up and all I could think about, hear, feel, see, and I don't even see very well in my mind's eye, was the Trigonics. And wouldn't you know it, the Trigonics are some reasonably expensive crystals that I've now had for about 6 months. And I've dragged them around with me when I've gone out to the mountains and never unpacked them. And then just in the last few days, basically as the State of Emergency Act, previously known as the War Act, was enacted in Canada, for the first time ever, I put the Trigons that I have, which quite a few actually, I put them all onto the table where I've been running the freedom spiral that I've been talking about. And I have then now twice run those set of spirals overnight with them spiraling down and them spiraling up. So a little bit of background on what would be believed to be about what makes it a trigonic is it will have upside down etched triangles on its face. It's kind of the counterpart of a record keeper that will have triangles that are right side up on its face. And you can read about them. They will come up on the internet now very, very easily. Just type in trigonic crystal. The little bit of information I've printed about them, they help connect between the physical and the spiritual worlds, facilitate visions and connections to the afterlife, and transmit the knowledge of the ancients. Research that I've done on them, or what other people have reported when they've been working with them, is that they are very connected to water. They have a very frothy light feel. They do feel different as I've been sitting here really holding them. They're bubbly and they're light, and they make me feel a little kind of happy and bouncy and hopeful. But the message that I'm getting from them is, people, look in the direction you're not looking. And I've been sitting with this since in the middle of the morning. The answer's in the direction you're not looking. That's their message. Look where you're not looking. And in sitting with it, what I've got from it is, it's not telling us about a specific direction. It's actually a message to each one of us individually to look in the direction we're not looking. So on a very personal level, you guys can sit here. What that means for me, I tend to look inward for answers. I need to look outward. If someone else is completely looking outward, you need to look inward. If you're completely looking to heaven, to God, to creator, to source, you need to look down to this planet. If you are completely stuck to this planet and believe in nothing beyond this physical body, you need to look to the divine and beyond. It's not a message that has the same meaning to every one of us, but it's a message that applies to every one of us. And so that is the message from the Trigonics. And they are wanting that to spread around the world. And again, to anyone listening to this, please go read about them. I have a feeling that they will be traveling with me and going to visit some of the bodies of waters that I took the Lemurians to last fall. Maybe while it's still icy and frozen, or maybe we're going to wait till summer. I don't know yet. But in a more mystical way, when I first woke up this morning and was in the place in between and betwixt, when you're half asleep, half awake, when interesting things happen, but a little more conscious journeying, I did a little bit of playing on what I have come to believe in my more mystery school practices about the shape of pyramids and triangles. And a triangle shape can be a 2D representation of a pyramid, which is actually a four-sided shape of a number of triangles. And then in sacred geometry, there is actually a shape called a octahedron, which is like two pyramids together, one pyramid going down, one going up. And that is the sacred geometry shape believed to connect to water, as do the Trigonics have a belief that they connect to water. There's a whole bunch of quite interesting mystery school lore about how they are essentially a plasma that has taken a physical form. So I have long contemplated pyramid technology, and some of the mystery school practices that I used to facilitate and probably will again once I'm not overloaded with running a store. The pyramid is actually used to access that which is not here. In more mystery school language, you'll hear it called accessing other dimensions, accessing other places. And I've also long had a deep, deep belief that the same opposite of the pyramid shape, going down into the earth, would also be able to access what is not here. And for me, as I've shared many times, when I'm out of sorts, where I go is down to the earth. It's not up to the heavens. When I have nothing left to support myself with, I go to ground every time. And if I can even get myself down into the earth, into a cave in my imagination, that for me is the best. And so I have long had a belief that for us to move forward full and complete, it really will be a full honoring of what people would call the light and the dark, and recognizing that they are equal and opposite, not good and bad. So it is not that we need one or the other, it is that we need the equal amounts of both in the optimal amounts at the right time in the harmonious relationship. So that is the message to the world from the Trigonics. The answer is in the direction you're not looking. Seek your answers in the direction you are not seeking them in now, whatever that means to you. So for me, that probably means I need to do a little more looking up, and maybe continuing to look inside, and maybe a little more looking outside and trusting to other people. I'm pretty internal. If anyone has comments or shares, I would love to start some dialogue. And now I'm simply going to close with find it, feel it, free it. So I just voice something that makes me feel free, makes me feel hopeful. So I'm just going to begin that breathing a little more slowly and deeply than usual. I'm going to take 3 breaths. And then I'm simply going to put the focus on my heart, and with each heartbeat, see, sense, feel, know that the feeling inside me is radiating out to everywhere that may need it. At the current moment, this feeling of freedom, this feeling to look in a different direction, if I'm sending it with any intention to anywhere, it's to anyone who is in any way being impacted by the movements going on between Russia and Ukraine today. We have too much power or access to power on this planet to continue solving problems the way we had, by control and aggression, regardless of how beautiful your version is. If you're forcing it on others, it's not going in a new direction. So the message from the Trigonics and the message from my own heart to everyone out there: simply look in a direction you're not looking. And if you don't know what the direction that is, I invite you to try my way. You can go back to your way tomorrow. And my way just involves figuring out how you feel, not what things look like, and sharing that with the world. I'm Tara Sue Moore. Day, like I said, I think 13, but need to look up. I find it, feel it, free it. I think my 13th day of broadcasting anyhow, because I did end up taking yesterday off. This may be the last broadcast from the physical crystal cavern in the shape that it's sitting in. It may be going to find itself a new physical location, and it may be going to be online for a while. I'll keep you in the loop. I'll do my best to be back on again tomorrow. I will be back on again soon. Thank you to all for playing.